Chosen one, pause for a second. This isn't hype, it's recognition. You didn't stumble into this moment, and you didn't click this message by accident. Something unseen aligned to bring you here, right now, at this exact point in your journey. You didn't get here by luck. You survived what was meant to stop you. And heaven noticed. There were nights you questioned everything. Your strength, your faith, your sanity. Seasons where silence felt louder than answers, where progress looked invisible, and where it seemed like nothing was changing. In Chosen One, before we go deeper, pause for a moment. Hit subscribe, like, and comment Amen if your spirit is already responding, because this message is about to speak directly to you. Not as noise, but as confirmation. Level 777 isn't about status. It's not about ego or comparison. It's about readiness. It's the point where endurance turns into authority, where lessons turn into wisdom, and where survival turns into assignment. You didn't just pass levels, you integrated them. Every delay refined you. Every setback trained you. Every betrayal sharpened your discernment. While others quit, you stayed. While others complained, you adapted. While others looked for shortcuts, you did the inner work in the dark. This is the moment of revelation. When you realize the struggle wasn't punishment, it was preparation. The light you carry now came from walking through shadow without losing your integrity. The clarity you feel didn't come overnight. It was built through investigation of the self, through painful honesty, through choosing growth when no one was watching. Can you feel it? That quiet confidence replacing desperation, that calm replacing chaos. That's not coincidence. That's alignment. And here comes the divine validation. God said, finally, someone did it. Not because you were perfect, but because you were faithful. Not because you never fell, but because you always got back up wiser. Heaven doesn't applaud noise, it honors consistency. It recognizes those who evolve without applause, who heal without validation, who keep going without guarantees. Chosen one, this message didn't find you. It was released when you were ready to hear it. Something is about to unlock that only opens at this level. Stay with me, because what comes next isn't just information, it's activation. Chosen one, let's slow this moment down, because this part matters more than you realize. What you passed wasn't a simple test of patience or endurance. It was a test of identity, a moment where life quietly asked, who are you when no one is rewarding you for staying? And you answered, not with words, but with consistency. You stayed when it was uncomfortable, not because it felt good, but because something deeper in you refused to abandon the process. When the excitement faded, when motivation disappeared, when clarity felt distant, you remained present. That alone separates you from most, because many people love beginnings, but very few can honor the middle. Can you remember that phase? The part where it wasn't painful enough to quit loudly, but not fulfilling enough to feel hopeful either. That's where most people walk away. But you didn't. You chose growth over ego again and again, even when your pride begged you to react, to prove, to defend. You learned when to stay silent. You learned when to observe instead of engage. You learned that not every battle was meant to be fought. Some were meant to be understood. That level of maturity doesn't come from talent or intelligence. It comes from inner discipline. And discipline is what heaven watches most closely. There were moments you could have chosen comfort over calling. Moments where distraction was easier than self-reflection. Moments where giving up would have made sense to everyone watching. And yet, something inside you whispered, stay. Even when staying meant sitting with your flaws. Even when it meant admitting you still had work to do. Even when it meant letting go of versions of yourself that once felt familiar. How many people do you know who quit right there? How many turn back the moment it asked too much of them? Most people quit at the threshold, right before transformation begins. They mistake resistance for rejection. They assume discomfort means failure. But you understood something deeper. That pressure doesn't come to crush you, it comes to reveal you. So you leaned in, you learned, you adjusted, and without realizing it, you crossed an invisible line. That's why the level changed. Levels don't change because time passes. They change because perspective shifts, because integrity is chosen over impulse, because you stopped asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and started asking, "What is this teaching me?" That question alone moves mountains internally. It turns pain into wisdom and delay into direction. And now look at you, calmer, sharper, less reactive, more rooted. You're not the same person who entered that season. The test didn't just check your endurance. It restructured your character. And character is what qualifies you for what's next. So let me ask you this, chosen one, do you feel it? That quiet knowing that you've outgrown certain struggles? That sense that something has shifted, even if you can't fully explain it yet? That's confirmation. You didn't survive those tests by accident. You passed them because you were willing to become someone new. And that's exactly why heaven unlocked the next level. Chosen one, this is where quiet strength is born. Not the kind that demands attention, but the kind that rearranges reality from the inside out. There was a time when you pushed, rushed, and tried to make things happen because waiting felt like losing. You thought action meant power, but life had a deeper lesson prepared for you, one that couldn't be rushed or negotiated. You stopped forcing outcomes, not because you gave up, but because you woke up. You realized that control was draining you, not protecting you, that the more you tried to grip the future, the more present peace slipped through your fingers. So you loosened your hold. You let things unfold without chasing, without pleading, without manipulating timing that wasn't ready. And in that pause, something unexpected happened. You became stronger. Patience taught you timing, not control, and there is a sacred difference between the two. Control comes from fear. Timing comes from trust. Control says, "I need this now to feel safe." Timing says, "I know it will come when I'm aligned." You learn to listen instead of react, to observe patterns instead of panicking, to wait for the right moment instead of creating one out of desperation. That shift didn't make you passive, it made you precise. There were moments where restraint felt like weakness, moments where silence felt like surrender, moments where not responding immediately felt unnatural, almost painful. But you stayed with it. You resisted the urge to interfere. You let people reveal themselves. You let situations reach their natural conclusion. And in doing so, you gained something far more valuable than quick results. You gained clarity. That restraint rewired your strength. You no longer equate urgency with importance. You no longer mistake pressure for purpose. You understand now that what's meant for you doesn't need to be chased. It recognizes you when you're ready. And readiness isn't about speed, it's about stability. Can you feel that difference in yourself now? That calm confidence that doesn't need to announce itself? That certainty that waits without anxiety? Patience refined your nervous system. It slowed your breath. It grounded your reactions. It taught you how to stay centered even when outcomes were uncertain. And that is a rare form of power, because anyone can react, anyone can rush, but only the disciplined can wait without losing themselves in the process. This is why things respond to you differently now. Doors open with less resistance. Conversations shift in your favor without effort. Opportunities align without you chasing them. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Your energy no longer says, "I need," it says, "I'm ready." And readiness is magnetic. So ask yourself, chosen one, how many times did patience save you from the wrong door? How many delays protected you from paths that weren't aligned? How many moments of waiting quietly shaped the version of you standing here now? This level wasn't unlocked by force, it was unlocked by trust. And that's why your power feels calmer now, but infinitely deeper. Chosen one, this is where heaven leans in a little closer. Because integrity is not tested when eyes are watching, it's tested in silence. In moments where no consequence seems visible, where compromise whispers, "No one will know." And still, you chose the harder path. Not because it was rewarded immediately, but because it was right. You could have taken shortcuts. There were opportunities to bend the truth, to lower your standards, to gain something quickly at the cost of your values. You saw the door slightly open, the one that promised speed without depth, and for a moment it probably tempted you. Who wouldn't want relief sooner? Who wouldn't want success without delay? But something in you paused. Something deeper than logic said, "This isn't how I win." You kept your values when no one was watching. That's the part most people never see. The decisions you made alone, the moments you chose honesty over advantage, the times you walked away even though staying would have benefited you. That takes strength most people never develop, because integrity asks you to trust a future you cannot yet see. It asks you to believe that what you protect internally will be returned externally, even if the timing feels unfair. There were moments you questioned yourself, moments you wondered if doing the right thing was making you fall behind. You watched others gain faster, louder, easier, and still, you didn't change who you were to keep up. You understood something sacred, that shortcuts don't just skip steps, they skip character development, and without character, nothing sustainable can be built. That choice unlocked trust, not just from others, but from life itself, because life responds differently to those it can rely on. When you choose integrity consistently, the universe marks you as safe. Safe for responsibility, safe for influence, safe for blessings that require stewardship, not ego. Can you feel that shift now? That sense that situations are beginning to trust you with more? Trust is invisible at first. It doesn't announce itself. It moves quietly behind the scenes, rearranging opportunities, aligning people, protecting you from doors that would have cost you your peace. Integrity creates a reputation in realms you don't see. It tells the unseen, this one won't misuse what they're given. And that's why certain things are opening for you now. Not because you demanded them, not because you manipulated outcomes, but because your consistency spoke for you. When heaven looks for someone to elevate, it doesn't look for perfection, it looks for reliability. Someone who remains whole when compromise would have been easier. So let me ask you, chosen one, how many times did your integrity protect you from becoming someone you would have had to heal from later? How many unseen rewards were secured because you refused to betray yourself? How many doors stayed closed for your protection until you were trusted with better ones? This level didn't unlock because you were clever. It unlocked because you were clean. And that kind of power lasts. Chosen one, this is where the journey became sacred. Not dramatic, not visible, just real. Healing without applause is one of the highest forms of spiritual maturity because it means you weren't doing the work to be seen. You were doing it to be free. And freedom, real freedom, is quiet at first. There was no audience clapping for your progress. No one cheering when you chose reflection over reaction. No recognition when you sat alone with your thoughts and faced truths that were uncomfortable to admit. You didn't post about it. You didn't announce it. You simply did the work. The kind that happens in silence, late at night, in honest conversations with yourself that no one else ever hears. You healed without validation. That means you stopped waiting for apologies to move on. You stopped needing explanations to let go. You stopped requiring others to change in order for you to find peace. And that is not easy. Most people stay wounded because they want someone else to notice the pain first. But you didn't wait. You chose yourself anyway. There were layers you had to peel back, patterns you inherited, beliefs you absorbed, emotional reactions that once protected you but no longer served you. You questioned your triggers. You traced your pain to its root instead of blaming the surface. You learned how to sit with discomfort without numbing it, without projecting it, without running from it. How many people do you know who can do that? How many avoid this level because it requires radical honesty? No applause means no external motivation. It means you showed up even when healing felt slow, even when progress felt invisible, even when you wondered if the work was actually doing anything at all. And yet, day by day, something inside you softened. Your reactions slowed. Your emotional weight lightened. Your awareness sharpened. Healing doesn't announce itself. It reveals itself through peace. That's advanced level progress. Because surface healing changes behavior. Deep healing changes identity. You didn't just learn new habits. You rewired how you relate to pain, conflict, and yourself. You no longer seek chaos because it feels familiar. You no longer confuse intensity with love. You no longer romanticize struggle. Instead, you crave calm. You protect your energy. You choose clarity over drama. Can you feel the difference now? The way your nervous system doesn't react the same way it used to? The way certain situations that once pulled you into emotional spirals now feel distant, almost irrelevant? That's not detachment, that's integration. You didn't suppress the pain, you processed it, and processed pain loses its power. The universe notices this kind of work, not loudly, not immediately, but deeply. Healing without applause tells life, this one doesn't need external approval to evolve. And that makes you trustworthy with higher levels of peace, purpose, and responsibility. Because what you've healed, you won't project. What you've released, you won't repeat. So let me ask you, chosen one, who did you become when no one was watching? What version of you emerged in the quiet? How much strength did it take to choose healing when distraction would have been easier? This level didn't unlock because you were seen. It unlocked because you were sincere. And that kind of progress can never be taken from you. Chosen one, this is where the change became irreversible. Not dramatic, not loud, but permanent. An energy shift doesn't announce itself. It settles. And once it settles, you don't return to who you were before, even if you tried. Something fundamental has reorganized inside you. You no longer chase what drains you. That alone tells the whole story. There was a time when you confused effort with worth, when you believed that if something required struggle, it must be meaningful. You chased validation. You chased closure. You chased people, outcomes, and situations that cost you your peace. Not because you were weak, but because you were still learning where your energy truly belonged. Now, something has changed. You pause before reacting. You feel the drain before it happens. Your body gives you information your mind used to ignore. And instead of overriding it, you listen. That's wisdom. That's self-trust. You don't need the lesson to repeat itself anymore because you finally recognize the pattern the first time it appeared. You move differently now, calmer, clearer. Your presence feels grounded. You don't rush to explain yourself. You don't feel the urge to convince anyone of your value. You don't seek intensity to feel alive. Instead, you choose stability. You choose peace. You choose alignment. And alignment has a very specific frequency, one that repels chaos without confrontation. This shift is permanent because it wasn't forced. It wasn't temporary motivation or emotional momentum. It came from understanding, from lived experience, from learning the cost of misalignment firsthand. You didn't just decide to change, you integrated the lesson, and integrated lessons don't fade when things get hard. Elevation doesn't look like excitement. It looks like discernment. It looks like knowing when to engage and when to walk away without bitterness. It looks like being unaffected by things that once controlled your mood. It looks like protecting your energy without apology. Can you see it in yourself now? The way certain conversations feel unnecessary? The way certain people feel familiar but no longer relevant? Your energy speaks before you do. It tells the world, this one has learned, and life responds accordingly. Doors that require chaos stop opening. Situations that thrive on confusion lose interest. Opportunities that match your frequency begin to appear, quietly, naturally, without force. Because you're no longer compatible with what drains you. This is elevation, not because you're above others, but because you're no longer available for what diminishes you. You didn't become colder, you became clearer. You didn't lose compassion, you gained boundaries. You didn't harden, you stabilize. So let me ask you, chosen one, how many cycles ended simply because you stopped feeding them? How much peace entered your life when you stopped chasing what wasn't aligned? How different do you feel walking into rooms now, carrying yourself with quiet certainty instead of expectation? This level didn't unlock by striving, it unlocked by releasing, and that is the mark of someone who has truly risen. Chosen one, this is the moment where the door doesn't burst open, it recognizes you. New access never arrives as overwhelm. It arrives as alignment, quiet, precise, intentional. And the fact that it's opening now tells a deeper story than success ever could. New clarity comes first, not answers to everything, just enough light to see your next step without fear. You begin to understand why certain paths closed, why certain people exited, why delays stretched longer than expected. The confusion that once clouded your vision softens into understanding. You don't need to know the whole map anymore. You trust the direction. And trust is the key that turns access. New opportunities follow that clarity, not the kind that demand you abandon yourself to succeed, but the kind that fit who you've become. Opportunities that don't drain you, that don't rush you, that don't require you to prove your worth. They meet you where you are, grounded, discerning, ready. Can you feel the difference? The way possibility feels calmer now, not frantic. And then, new people appear, not louder, not more impressive, but more aligned. People who speak your language without explanation, people who respect your boundaries without offense, people who meet you at your level, emotionally, spiritually, energetically. Connections that feel mutual instead of performative, supportive instead of conditional. Have you noticed how certain conversations feel easier now? How some interactions feel immediately safe? This access isn't about quantity, it's about capacity. You're not being handed everything at once because you don't need everything at once. You're being trusted with what you're ready to carry. And readiness isn't about desire, it's about stability. The universe doesn't give weight to those still learning balance. It gives it to those who can hold it without losing themselves. That's why what's opening feels clean. There's no chaos attached, no confusion, no emotional debt, just a sense of right timing. A quiet yes in your spirit. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to defend it. You simply step into it. And stepping into aligned access feels less like effort and more like recognition. Ask yourself this, chosen one, how many doors stayed closed because you were still becoming someone who could walk through them with integrity? How many connections were delayed until you could meet them without losing yourself? How many opportunities waited until your nervous system could handle them peacefully? New access doesn't reward struggle, it responds to readiness. And you are ready, not because you demanded more, but because you learned how to carry less without fear. That's why what's opening now feels different. It doesn't overwhelm you, it fits you. This level didn't unlock to impress you, it unlocked because you're prepared to steward it. And what comes next will meet you exactly where you stand.